so let's move on to the next step of the Fenix bodysuit, which is assembling the panty portion or the bottom portion of the bodysuit. So the first step in that is we're going to finish this little angled edge here with Pico elastic. You have to finish this edge of the side front panty panel before you can attach it to the center front panty panel. So really easy to do this. We're going to put the Pico elastic on top. And I always like to leave a little bit of a tail at the beginning here. So it's not exactly like lining up with the edge. It's actually going to extend past it. It's just a little bit easier when you go to attach it to the center front panty panel. So we're going to use a zigzag stitch. Most likely it's going to be the same zigzag width and length as the stitch you were using for the fold over elastic. You're going to sew your first pass. Those thread tails. And you're going to flip it to the wrong side and then sew the second pass. And now you're doing the same thing for the other side. Okay, so now that those edges are finished, now we can attach it to the center front panty panel. So here it is. And let me bring the camera a little bit up so you get like a better view of what I'm working on. There we go. So here is the center front panty panel. We want to sew the side panel to the center front panty panel. Well, that is a mouthful. To this, we want to sew the side panel to the center front panel. We want the edges to match, to meet right at the center front, like that top little corner. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pin where that needs to meet. I'm going to place this on top, right sides together, and I'm going to see where the pin is. I'm having it so that the Pico elastic meets right there, right on it, right on top of it. You're going to have this kind of hanging over, and that is okay. And now I'm going to sew this seam with a straight stitch, 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay, so there it is finished. You can see that there's a little bit of this, the triangle on the center front panty panel is hanging over. That is fine. So now I'm going to sew the other one to the other side. So I'm going to fold this one back. And I'm going to place this one on top. And then I'm going to mark with a pin where my stitches should go. Where the one stitch ended on the other side, where I need it to begin on the. And then you're going to sew, fold this back, and then sew the other side panel with a straight stitch 1/4 inch seam allowance. As you can see here, when I fold this back, it's gonna get a little, like it's gonna look a little weird. Then you're gonna fold one back and then fold the other back, just like that. Now, if you wanna put a little tap there, you can. Yeah, you can do that. But I would suggest before doing that, if you have a serger, serge this edge. If you don't have a serger, you can leave them raw. Or you can just press them down and do a top stitch for the zigzag, whatever you prefer. I'm gonna trim these back though. More of that is trimmed back. Now, before we can attach the front panel to the back panel, let's finish off the V, the center back V. Yeah. This can definitely get confusing. So here is the center back V. And we are going to finish it with picot elastic. And the key here is that you will be sewing a zigzag stitch, a picot elastic with a zigzag stitch all the way down. And then you're going to switch to a straight stitch right here. And then you're going to go, we're going to sew another strip of picot elastic on this edge. And we're going to start with a straight stitch and then switch back to a zigzag stitch. So right at this V, we're going to do straight stitches and they should connect. And then once we sew the second pass, we're going to clip into that V and it's going to allow us to flip the elastic to the wrong side and to sew the second pass. I'm going to switch to the straight stitch. I'm also going to move my needle position slightly to the left so I can get right next to that picot edge. I'm going to stitch a little bit. And I'm just eyeballing where the stitches should end. They should end right below the V point. Again. I'm going to clip this elastic. I'm going to leave a little bit of a tail right here. I'm going to leave this little bit of a tail. Let me switch this over. Now I'm going to sew the second pass, but I'm going to fold this one out of the way. If you want to pin it, you can. And then I'm going to sew the second pass. Not the second pass, the second elastic. And essentially you want your stitches to meet at just below the V. And I'm going to switch back to a zigzag stitch. So let's see how I did here. So if you see, essentially those straight stitches should meet right at the bottom V. So if you see here, and I could probably go a little bit more on that first. Let me try to do a little bit more. So they actually meet. That's a little bit better. Now the stitches are meeting at the bottom of the V. So now to sew the second pass, I'm going to clip into that V. So that I snipped it right to those stitches. And that will allow me to flip the elastic to the wrong side and sew the second pass. A little bit more. And now I'm going to sew the second pass, all in one step. When I get all the way down, I'm gonna put my needle down, and then I'm gonna bring my up, pivot, and then sew all the way. And that's what it should look like when it's finished. And you can go on the inside and clip the elastic. If you want to add a little bar tack right here or straight stitch just to hold it down because there does get a lot of stress at that point, you can totally. Okay, so that's the end of this video. For the next step, there are some really easy steps that you can do that I don't have to show on camera. You will sew the side seams together. using a straight stitch coordinate seam allowance. If you have a serger, you can serge this edge as well as this edge. So in the next video, we will be finishing the bodysuit. We're going to sew the gusset. We'll finish off the leg openings with fold over elastic, and then we'll attach the panty portion to the bralette. So I will see you next time.